Folks, you're not looking at a photograph right now. This is not a painting from the 1800s. This is not a video. This is not, well, it is a video, but it's not a pre-recorded video. And this is also not a still frame. That is right. This is live. We are live. And I am your host, Dash V. And with me today, I actually have a blast from the past.
Oh, you want me to introduce myself? Yeah.
It wouldn't be Retro
What?
Reload without awkward handoffs.
Yeah. What's up, guys? I'm Zach Z, originally Red Blaze 57 on here, and it's good to be back after a long time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and you might hear some crickets in the background. Actually, Zach is phoning in from his new digs, so he's actually chilling outside, enjoying some of the evening air, as it were.
Yeah, currently don't have any actual internet, so using what's on my phone, and it's kind of a little crappy around here.
Yeah, it's working pretty well outside though, I gotta say.
Yeah, well, just give it a little time.
Yeah, and it is kind of neat having the hey retro sports gamer. Yeah, whoa, we are back. I know it's been a while. If I'll wait till some other folks come up in the chat, and if folks are really curious, I'll get into some details about where I've been and what's been going on. So, not going to get too much into it initially though, because we've got quite a few things to talk about, don't we, Zach?
Yeah.
So Zach was filling me in just before we actually went live about lots of folks have played the new Spider-Man game. It's gotten some pretty good reviews. It's also gotten some attention, both good and bad. One of the things that I knew about, folks have been sharing online, if you didn't get the day one patch, you actually might want to try it without the day one patch first, because the animations do ridiculously silly, crazy things. There's loading time errors where animations will fire before the graphics have fully loaded and baked, and so things will happen like Spider-Man's suit will jump and take off without him and leave him behind like naked in his room or whatever. um
Huh.
yeah, all this,
I
like, it's pretty crazy. Have you seen some of the videos?
I mean, I've actually been playing it over the weekend. I rented it from Redbox, and I haven't noticed any glitches like that.
Did you download the patches?
No, because that's like
Oh, because there's
four,
no internet.
5 gigabytes, and hotspot only gives me like 15 gigabytes free.
Yeah.
And where after that, it craps the bed.
Retro Sports Gamer wants us to talk some Polymega tonight. I tell you what, RSG, since you asked for it, I'm not super well versed in it. I know what the Polymega is. It's a clone console, kind of similar to the Retron 5, but there's some really interesting differences, but also some kind of depressing similarities. So I don't know a super ton about it, but I know enough to be dangerous, and I will share what I know and what my thoughts are with you folks a little bit later. But we're going to keep on the Spider-Man thread. So you didn't have any issues without the day one patch. That's kind of cool.
There was one area where I went to go do a mission, and where it was supposed to be a chase mission,
Mm-hmm.
and where I show up to the truck, and where they were slumped over and half out of the vehicle. So that was weird, and where I had to reload because of that. But after that, no
Okay.
real glitches that I found.
I got you. So
But
it might go ahead.
I did see the one of Spider-Man jumping off the roof of one of the buildings, and we're doing a roll, and then just continues rolling on the water. That I'm gonna have to try that now.
Yeah. So G to the next level. Hey there, buddy. G, welcome back. Thank you so much, G. It's good to be back. So yeah, we're just talking about some of the glitches, G, in Spider-Man. But another glitch is not so much a glitch, so much as, I don't know, I guess we call it another bout of bad timing. So Zach, share with me what you shared like before the show. This I didn't hear about.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't hear about this until yesterday was Dorkley's video, where apparently there was a marriage proposal in the game on a theater, whatever you call them, where they have the movies that they're showing, where it had the woman's name and "Will you marry me?" afterwards. And apparently, before the game came out, they broke up.
Wah, 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 wah. That's got to be harsh, though.
Yeah.
Seriously, I've dealt with heartbreak
Well,
before, but to have it
well, what?
immortalized in a game must be terrible.
Yeah, well, they're gonna patch it out in the next patch. I heard,
they're
but there
gonna
was also
they're gonna rub it out now.
giggity. But from what I heard, there were rumors that she had left him for his brother, but those are apparently false.
Yeah, folks, it's
So
on a serious note. I know I laughed and I did the whole wah wah thing, but it's got to be hard enough on this guy. Like, we don't need to make up rumors for what was, what happened. So that's interesting though that folks, you know, they're kind of going to develop probably as many stories about this as was about the Eris resurrection in Final Fantasy VII. So, well, gee,
other than that, I've seen like just a dumb article about how apparently Spider-Man is a cop, and somebody's pissed about that on Deadspin.
okay, a cop instead of being a reporter, right?
No, it's because he helps out the cops.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, so Spider-Man is a hero doing superhero-y things and working with law enforcement. What I guess I have to read a bit more. But I'm not seeing I'm not seeing the need.
Because of everything that supposedly has been going on, where just how people get.
Yeah.
Even
I guess
though,
so.
at the point of the game that I'm at, he's interacting mostly with two cops, and one's an Asian woman, the other is a black man.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So
yeah,
they're representing a broader demographic, which I think is pretty cool. And I think it's somewhat appropriate because not all cops are bad. I agree that not all cops are good, and that the cops that are not good, we should handle that. We should take care of that and say we're not going to tolerate that shit.
Yeah, but it's like
not all cops are bad either. So
it's like 95% are still good, and I'm probably just being not generous with that number at all, I think.
Yeah, I'll admit I have zero statistical information, but what I do have anecdotally, I mean, I've known folks that were cops, either in the past or are currently cops, and these are folks that I consider to be good people. They try to protect everybody in their community that they're sworn to serve and protect. I've seen certainly as many articles as a bunch of other people about the cops that aren't good. I've seen some of the video of their episodes and everything, and I join people in their outrage of the misbehavior. But I'm not going to paint everyone in uniform with the same broad brushstroke because there's some bad folks. But I'm also not going to say that those bad folks, shouldn't be taken to task. They absolutely should.
Oh yeah, and I had an interaction with cops earlier in the summer, and everything went fine with that.
Yeah. So Phaser Co. Hey,
which that's another story that I would like to tell at some point. I don't know if I can or not.
I just realized that you just said you had an encounter with cops. I think we can officially, like, whatever the rest of the agenda is, we can skip that if whenever you're ready for this story.
Well, let me put it this way: it involved two women fighting, and where I had went in to help break it up because my neighbor it was between my neighbor's best friend and her cousin, I believe.
Oh my goodness! So a domestic issue then.
Yeah, and where there were kids out there, and I just pulled them apart to make sure that the kids weren't seeing any of that stuff.
Yeah. So you were just outside and you saw this happening, and you decided to be.
I was inside, and I heard.
Wow!
I was inside. And I heard them yelling.
Were they inside also yelling, like inside their own?
No, they were out in the street.
Ah, okay. So you're inside, right?
I started hearing yelling.
Yeah,
and we're just like a whole bunch of F you, UH.
So a Springer show is breaking out in your vicinity there.
Yeah.
So you ran out and you went, Jerry.
No, I just went up behind one, grabbed her arms and pulled her back.
Yeah,
And
you didn't
we're
get hurt or anything, did you?
no,
Okay. Did
no.
they discuss with you afterwards, like thank you, or were they pissed off at you, or?
I haven't talked to the one. The other one actually used to own the place that I'm at.
Oh wow, wow,
Yeah, and we're that was the first
awkward.
time. That was actually the first time I actually met her.
Wow.
So afterwards, I'm like, by the way, I'm Zach.
Did you get
And
her
where
number?
she's no, she,
Just kidding.
uh, yeah, no, she's already got like several kids, so I'm not
Okay.
touching that.
Okay. Well, that's we all have our stuff, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
but there, it was just, it was bad.
but I'll tell you what's not bad though. What's not bad is the representation in the chat right now. We got Retro Sports Gamer, we got G to the Next Level, and we got Phaser Co. And folks, I gotta say, I was a little nervous. I was like, should I go on? I don't really have like a dedicated agenda. I don't really have like a full panel of like co-hosts. Should I just do this? Well, folks voted yes. It was unanimous. Now, granted, there was only 6 votes, but all 6 votes were hell yes. So
Well,
I
I mean,
am the
I
hell
didn't
to your
vote, but
yes.
I volunteered to come on.
You know what? That's as good as a vote, my friend. That's as good as a
Yeah,
vote. So I appreciate that you came on. It's nice catching up with you. It's been a while.
yeah.
It's been 2 years, right? At least.
It's been at least 2 years since I was on the Our Parents' Basement.
Oh wow. Oh, so you've been
So
cold. You've been cold on both shows, huh?
yeah,
Oh wow.
if you hear any howling, that's my dog.
Gotcha. Well, we appreciate you coming out of your early YouTube celebrity retirement to come back and help me out on the show. Did you hear about the Streets of Rage 4 announcement? Did anybody, and you guys in the chat, if you guys heard about the Streets of Rage 4 announcement and seen the trailer? If not, go watch it right now and come back and let's talk about it in the chat. What do you guys think of it? So, Zach, in the
It's worth a
meantime,
nut.
worth a nut. Is that legal tender now? Like nut coins? Is that a thing? Man, and I heard about
I,
cryptocurrency, but I didn't know about. I don't even know what to call that.
I've been watching. I've been watching way too much Magic Aids. He, he's someone who will talk about his debts being quite not worthy.
Yeah. So now you've been playing Yakuza though for a while, right? Am I pronouncing that right? Yakuza?
Yeah, Yakuza.
Yakuza.
Yakuza,
So
Yakuza. I
now,
don't
and
know
you
exactly how to pronounce it.
you gave it a pretty good endorsement though before the show, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had I've had 3 in my collection for quite a long time, but over the summer I decided to pick up the Yakuza Kiwami, which is a remake of the first one, and after that I found myself getting 0, then 4, then 6, and actually playing through 3. The only ones I'm missing right now that have physical releases are Dead Souls and the recently released Kiwami 2.
So what if to the uninitiated to this, because you'd made us the statement that you'd made was that if Sega hasn't done a follow up to Streets of Rage in any form because they've been devoting resources to these games, you are happy. So is this at all to somebody that's totally uninitiated and ignorant with the game? Is it a beat 'em up? Is it an RPG? What kind of game is it?
It,
Like give us an elevator pitch of the game.
I mean, like honestly, the easiest example to give is actually the Shenmue games. I think completely different stories, but you have combat sections and where you can go around town, play video games, go on dates and stuff,
Hmm.
and play games like mahjong.
Really? Wow. Okay, so I've also never played Shenmue either. Like, don't
No,
please, internet, no
but
flame.
the the base game I can describe as a beat 'em up. It's a 3D beat 'em up.
Okay, but then it's got all these other
It's
mini game elements and stuff like that too. Sounds like.
Yeah, you can go to hostess bars, get or talk to the girls there,
Huh.
go and play, like I said, mahjong, do karaoke, which some of the songs are just so cheesy, they're great.
Yeah, G to the Next Level agrees with you, and he says that the Yakuza is amazing and that you have great taste. Um,
Yeah.
so he says the only game he's
You know,
missing
like
in the series so far is Kiwami 2.
yeah, no, I'd need to get that in Dead Souls, which is kind of their zombie take.
Interesting, interesting. G is also he's mentioned that he's hyped about hi Robert Walker, how you doing? Have you heard about Robert, have you heard about Streets of Rage 4? If so, what are your thoughts? G is hyped for it. He says he is super hyped. He said, "You know I'm hyped." Well, I do now, G. Like, well, I did before because I've been following you on Twitter, but like
But yeah, to give you an idea, the guys behind the Yakuza games are making a Fist of the North Star game that's coming out soon.
oh wow.
Yeah, and they just announced another game called, or I think that the project name is Judge Eyes,
Uh-huh.
which I guess if you were to compare it, it'd be to like Rockstar's LA Noir. Meaning how this is more about the justice system through a lawyer,
Ah, okay.
and we're going around solving stuff while beating the crap out of people. It seems
Interesting. Interesting.
so. I'm hyped for that.
What were your thoughts on the new take on Axel with the beard? I kind of dig it. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got facial hair, so
Yeah. I'm wondering
I'm
if this
just
is going to be years later
I'm actually
or
glad that Blaze is also back.
yeah, super glad Blaze is back.
Yeah,
She
and
was one of the
like one of my
first. She was one of the first like video game, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but she was one of like the first, really recognizable ladies of gaming. And what I mean by that is Genesis, before even Super Nintendo, I think was the first console to really provide so much detail besides a PC. It was the first console that actually depicted characters in enough detail to where there's actually significant difference between male characters and female characters. So Blaze kind of true to her namesake, like blazed a trail, if you will. She wasn't the first. I'm not going to claim that she was the first, but at least she was one of the first that I was exposed to, where you could play like a female protagonist and do the beat 'em up thing. And even when Super Nintendo came out, right, and they did Final Fight, they made a whole bunch of modifications to it, didn't they? To like, Nintendo had this "there's no bad girls" policy. So for a
yeah. Well,
while,
there's also the whole thing with the whole poison debacle that people are still wondering if she's really a man or not.
yeah, yeah. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing. I agree with G. Blaze does look fantastic. Um, I also he says he agrees with me. Also, I don't know about what. Maybe he agrees with the Axel look, looking pretty cool. I'm wondering if we're going to get special characters. I'm not expecting the kangaroo to come back. But I'm wondering if they're going to do something similar to what they did with those older Streets of Rage games, where during the course of the game you can unlock other playable characters. I thought that that was a really cool thing that they did.
I'm actually going to be starting to play the Streets of Rages again because last time I played them, I was at a girlfriend's house and I didn't remember playing through the whole game. So
Yeah, folks that
yeah,
had
I just got the Sega Genesis Classics collection, so I'm going to be playing them on that.
nice, very nice.
Yeah,
They were actually giving it away. They were giving away the Streets of Rage collection. I think it was a month or two ago on Xbox Games with Gold. So I was able to pick up the collection there. I also already have it on Steam, and I have an older PlayStation 3 Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection. So I've got, plus I
yeah,
have all the games on cartridge. So I mean, I have a dozen different ways to play it. But you're right, like seeing a new one's going to come out has got me totally psyched to pop one of those in and just
yeah.
start blazing a trail through. See what I did there?
Yeah. You know what? I'm just going to say it. Have Streets of Rage get the main characters from, I'm going to say Yakuza 0, which are Kiryu and Majima, which both of
It'd be
them are great
fairly easy to do,
characters.
right? Just have a bar scene or something where there's some fight breaks out or whatever, and if you break it up or whatever, you unlock the characters or something. They could easily do it.
Yeah. And where I think that'd be some great cross promotion was the game that's been recently in people's eyes.
Yeah. G to the Next Level says, if you can, you should check out Streets of Rage Remake on PC. It's excellent. I've downloaded it, have not gotten a chance to play it yet. So,
my PC is currently not hooked up to internet, so
I'll have to take a rain check on that, but add it to the bucket list. So
yeah, I need to either actually get internet or get a laptop so I can actually bring it to work and just download stuff there.
Robert Walker says, by the way, what do you think of Simon Belmont and King K. Rool in Smash Bros? I'm gonna
Yes.
Zach's
Belmont.
Go ahead, Zach.
Both Simon and Victor in it, amazing. Like, I've been wanting that since Brawl.
Yeah.
Although I think back then I wanted Soma Cruz more because I was more familiar with Dawn of Sorrow at the time.
I'm kind of a party pooper. Like, I don't get me wrong, the graphics in Smash are pretty amazing. I enjoy watching other people play Smash Bros. I personally do not enjoy Smash Bros. I think the matches go on way too long. The winning is way too luck based, or I'm just that terrible. If I play with my son,
depends on how you play.
We could be playing for hours on the same stage without a knockout. So even with computer kitchen characters, it's like kind of ridiculous. So, have
you been at least watching the trailers?
I've been watching the trailers. Yeah.
They've been killing off the characters. What the hell? I mean, first it was Mario and Mega Man, and then suddenly Luigi goes.
Yeah.
Killed by death, literally.
Yeah. But I think for folks that love Smash, I think this is going to be unquestionably the best Smash yet. It's going to have the biggest lineup. It's going to have some holdouts that folks have been wanting for a really long time. It's going to have the better graphics of the Switch plus the portability. I think for anybody that's a Smash fan, it's a no-brainer. For me, I'll probably own it just because sometimes I host a gaming night for the youth of the church that I go to. So once every 3-4 months, I'll bring my gear in to the church, and the kids can come out for like an hour or two or whatever, and they can just beat the crap out of each other in Smash, or they can race, until they're exhausted in Mario Kart and things like that. The Wii U is a huge hit at these events. I'm not yet comfortable bringing the Switch and handing that over to them. It's a little too expensive. But I know they would get a huge kick out of the new Smash Bros. Because the lineup is just huge and amazing.
Sorry, I'm opening the door there to get my dog to stop whining.
That is all right. G to the Next Level says K. Rool is going to be boss. So
yeah, I can't even think of any other characters that I would want in Smash. Honestly.
Yeah, Ridley is going to be in there.
Yeah. Ridley, Dark Samus, Prom.
So, Robert Walker says killing off the characters in the trailer was to showcase a new adventure mode called Spirits Mode.
I don't know how 100% that is right now, because what people are going off of is a pixelated image, and they're seeing spirits in that image.
So we can neither confirm nor deny the accuracy of those statements then.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what it's going to be. I don't know if it's 100% spirits.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you gave me an excellent segue, speaking of something that's not quite 100%. I want to give you guys my take on the Retron 77. I've been meaning to do this for a bit, and then I got kind of tied up with life and busyness.
All right, before that, I'm just going to say I have no experience with this console. I don't even own a single Atari game.
That is totally okay. I'm going to give the cliff notes of it. I realized I meant to bring my actual Atari 2600 up here with me, and I didn't, so I'm just going to have to wing it. But
yeah, the only advice I can give, avoid the Act Game stuff.
Yeah, and I can say, I mean, people are going to argue left and right. Like, if you've got like 3 days of time that you have no idea what to do with, go to Atari Age and follow the like 90-page forum post on the Retron 77. Um, you'll there's about maybe like 6 or 7 posts worth of really valuable, useful information, and then there's a bunch of people waffling over whether or not they want to get it, which is fine. It's definitely not for everyone, so some of the waffling is certainly warranted. I'm going to give you my take on it. Um, the A couple things is some people had a beef that the it looks really cool in the pictures, the whole wood grain type deal that they got going on, and especially the box. The packaging looks pretty nice. But as soon as you get this and you put it next to your actual Atari 2600,
I'm guessing that you could probably tell that it's definitely a sticker.
you can tell that it's a sticker, number one, and this is like Sonic orange compared to the Atari 2600 is more brown, and this is more orange. So if you put them right next to each other, they definitely don't, blend. Now that said, that's not like a deal breaker for me. Like I wasn't expecting that they would perfectly rip off Atari's colors and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, would it be nice to have a rich mahogany version? Yes.
Yeah. So some interesting things that they have. They do have it powers through micro USB, and it does have a wall wart, so you can plug it right in. It does have HDMI output with a normal sized HDMI cable. It allows you to click a button to go between 16 by 9 or normal TV, older TV aspect ratio 4:3, and you can toggle black and white or color, which I thought was cool. It has a fry button, which like you press the button and the game glitches up. I have no idea why the hell they added that as a feature, honestly. But so
well, I mean, does it dump the games on it like the Retron 5?
It doesn't dump the games, but it does have an SD card slot, so you can put games on micro SD, and you
All right.
can load them up.
Because I was thinking that it might be to sort of like simulate the whole jiggling the cartridge, because you get some pretty interesting glitches through that.
Yeah.
And access levels that were never meant to be.
So it's maybe that. Maybe it's like a super random Game Genie type deal. So on the front of it, they do have the skill modes. You can hook in. It comes with an Atari controller. I'll show you what that looks like. It comes with an Atari controller. It's not actually a 2-button controller, but it's more of an ambidextrous controller. So both of these are the same button, but you can hold it left-handed or you can hold it right-handed, which I thought was kind of interesting. The quality of this controller is not the same as the quality of your original controllers. So if you play this really intensely, I could see it breaking. That said, Hyperkin has been talking about, they posted a couple times in this thread of death in Atari Age about how they're working on a more indestructible controller, and that for folks that are really bothered by the durability or concerned by the durability of this one, you can actually contact Hyperkin customer support when the new controller is ready, and they will send you a new one as the replacement for this one at no charge. So it remains to be seen if that pans out. But for folks that are concerned, you can also plug in your old Atari controllers. And so all the buttons that you would see on an original Atari, or all the switches that you would see, are kind of represented here in some way. You've got on off. You've got skill modes for player 1 and player 2, your on off button. You've got reset, which resets the console, and then a mode, which allows you to toggle the game mode. You can also hit save and load. So this allows you to save and load specifically save states.
Okay, I got a quick question.
Go ahead.
You said that they're re-releasing a controller for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever do that with the Retron 5?
I so wish. The answer is no, and I kind of feel bad for Chris.
Because mine still won't sync up to it.
I give him no end of shit. one of my consoles does have a controller that the left button has never worked on, and I didn't even bother RMAing it because the other controller was so horrible on the other console. I'm like, even if this controller works, I will never use it. My recommendation would be pick yourself up one of these, my friend.
Yeah, I need to do that. I want to get
So
that as like a second controller for the Switch.
yeah, the 8-bit DO for those that are on us audio only. The 8-bit DO or 8-bit do. They have excellent
Yeah, I've
SNES
always heard
and
it as
NES.
8-bit though.
Yeah. So this is actually I got them both right here. This is the NES controller and this is the SNES controller. And they've got a couple other models and variants and everything, but I like these because these feel original and authentic. I actually even I bought an extra set of these for my SNES Mini, and they work amazing. They work really really wonderful. So, just checking out the chat. G says his Retron 77 works now. Somehow the HDMI port started working again after a local vendor of mine unjammed the fry button. It was weird. So yeah, and that's I guess what I want to talk about. Like build quality wise, honestly, this does. Gee, tell me if you agree. Like this weighs more than the Retron 5. It's. Do I have a Retron 5 here? No, I don't. I don't have one right here immediately available. But the Retron 5 is actually a bit bigger, but the plastic feels flimsier on the Retron 5. The whole
Yeah,
console is lighter. This actually has some heft to it. It feels like a console.
yeah. The Retron 5, it's about the same weight as a cartridge.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I had no problems getting the cartridges in and out of the system. It's a little. I like the fact that you can see the label, but it is a little bit of a mind screw if you have this right next to your Atari. When you take it out, you have to put it in the Atari the other way, right? so, um, so
I've never messed with
arguably,
the Atari, so I don't know anything about that.
yeah, when you put it in the Atari 2600, the label faces away from you.
Ah,
So yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a brain screw. Now, in terms of issues that I had, because I want to give full disclosure, and this remember when I said originally not 100%. So, um, if you want to use a driving controller, the driving controller is specifically the one that's labeled as a driving controller, and the you have the wheel infinitely spins around in either direction. These don't work yet with the Retron 77. So if you're trying to play pole position or those kind of games, this does not work. If you're talking about the paddles, which people constantly get confused or think is the same thing as the driving controller, it's not. The biggest differences are one of the differences is that you get two for one. Generally, I think there is a single paddle that you can get as well, but most of the ones that I have are the dual paddles hooked to one cable. And the main difference is this will only go so far to one side or to the other. There's also some technical differences on the inside that make them different from the kind of input they deliver to the console. These do work. The paddles do work. So you can play games like Kaboom, which is an excellent game if you haven't played it. Kaboom. But you can also, play all the other games and stuff that take the paddles. Caveat though, the paddle is very jittery. Even if you don't touch it, even if you just have this sitting on the table not moving, you will see the platform or whatever. If you're playing Breakout or Kaboom, you'll see the platforms jiggle a bit, and you don't really have you don't have extreme precision. The games are playable, but it is a little bit quirky, a little bit clunky. So I didn't quite like that. So driving controller does not work at all. Paddles do work, but with some quirkiness. And then Star Raiders, which is one of my favorite games. It's a really I think it's an often overlooked gem on the Atari. It takes a video touchpad. I have the overlay, just not on this one. This is my backup touchpad. This doesn't work at all, which basically makes Star Raiders all but unplayable. You can fly around and you can shoot asteroids and spaceships, but anybody that's played Star Raiders knows that part of it is checking your map. jumping from section to section on the map, recharging at the there's a docking station that you can recharge at and everything. A lot of that you can really only do if you're hitting like the map button, if you're hitting the warp button and things like that. So the game is technically playable, but it's not really completable. So why bother? So yeah, there's some peripheral support issues with it out of the box. There's also a glitch where if you actually don't patch this, so if you get this day one edition and you haven't installed any of the updates or whatever, there's a bug where if you reset the console or turn it off at the wrong moment, it actually loses its ability to recognize the controller ever again.
That sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Now, when I say ever again, I mean ever again unless you update the console. So there is a website that you can go to. I'll put it down, a link down in the doodly doo after the show. I've never encountered this issue myself, but over 90% of that trail of tears on the Atari Age forum is people that, in some cases, half these people read about the problem, buy the console after going back and forth on should I, shouldn't I, and then refuse to update it day one on principle, and then come back bitching and moaning like literally the next day that the bug happened to them too, and they can't use their controller anymore. And I'm like,
oh my god, people are stupid.
So, and to be clear, I'm only judging those people that knew it was going to be a problem, got it anyway, didn't patch it, and then encountered the problem, and then reacted as if, how could they have possibly known, right? Like if you're somebody that just bought it, expected it to work out of box, didn't work, that's totally reasonable. I can completely understand you thinking, what the hell, it's broken, it's a piece of junk. It is broken, but not a piece of junk. Go onto the link that I have down in the doodly-doo, download the update, apply it, and you're good. The other thing, too, is out of the box, that SD card, there's a limit to the number of games that can be read off the SD card out of box. And for some reason, they limited it to 15 games. I have no idea why the hell. But the update not only fixes and prevents the controller bug, but it also removes the 15 game limit. That said, the menu on screen for if you're going to select the games off the SD card, for some reason they didn't give you a list of games with like the nice text going all the way from one end to the other, right? Like for some reason they decided to use these giant icons. And so you get this giant icon and you get like 5 or 6 letters of the name of the file. And if you do have a huge library, like 100 games or whatever, guys, good friggin' luck scrolling through this list because it's going to be a massive pain in the ass. Like
maybe that's why they had the 15 limit.
I think that is. I think it was because they kind of went cheap and easy on the UI, and they wanted to kind of limit the damage. But so yes, it'll play ROMs. Yes, it'll play your cartridges. So far, I mentioned some of the issues I had with peripherals. I think another issue that people had with it on the forums that is a legitimate issue, it's using an older version of Stella. It's using a 3.x version of Stella. And those of you that aren't in the know, Stella is currently on version 5. In fact, they're actually coming up on a 6.0 release. So the Retron 77 is effectively running software that's like 3 to 4 years old at this point, at least. And so there's a lot of homebrew games that have come out over the last half a decade that aren't yet supported by the version of Stella that's on here. And so people have been complaining a lot about that. Hey, I plugged in this game, it didn't work. I plugged in that game, it didn't work. And nearly every case they're talking about, a homebrew that's got special hardware on the cartridge that Stella later versions have come to emulate, but the one that's on here out of box isn't there. That said, a big problem that they had with the original Retron 5 was that they used open source software, but then weren't playing nice with the licenses. Hyperkin is totally committed to following the licenses to the letter for the Retron 77. So the platform is open. You don't need to hack it or break it or whatever to get. You can just, they have instructions online for how you can, how you can get the image and how you can build things. And so it's an open platform. They provided the source that they've modified of Stella and other things on their website per the licenses. So even if Hyperkin doesn't fix the problems with this, in fact, that 15 game limit and the controller fix, Hyperkin was not the one that released the first patch to fix that. Actually, I'm gonna say Stefan. If that's not your actual name, I apologize. I'm brain dumping, but I'm gonna say Stefan for now. The maintainer and developer of Stella basically came forward and gave a patch, which was pretty cool, right? That was even possible that he could do that with a commercial product. So I feel like it's got a better out of the gate, even though it's kind of clunky and misses the mark on some things like the original Retron 5 did. The build quality feels better. The openness of the software and of the platform to install your own software in accordance with the licenses is better. So Hyperkin is definitely trying. I think that this it feels a lot better to me than the Retron 5, even though software wise it's not fully there yet. We get Stella 5 on this, and the compatibility will go, straight up. Even those homebrews hopefully fix the peripheral issues, that kind of thing, and we don't have to wait for Hyperkin to do that. Anybody that knows about Linux and knows about compiling software and things like that could give it a go, and we could have a build tomorrow or next week, Hyperkin or no. So overall, I'm going to give it a pass. I'm going to say if you pass as in, if you grab it, you download the day one updates, and you are aware that anything that's not a normal Atari controller might give you some issues for the immediate future. I think you're going to really have a great time with all your other games. The games that play on it do look really, really great on a high res 720p display. The games were playing just fine for me without any frame skip or anything like that. So I played some Lost Luggage with my wife, and I got the high score. So I have no complaints other than the normal stuff that I mentioned with the console. But for the price, I don't regret buying this or picking this up. I have a feeling that somebody's going to come out with software to work around some of the shortcomings of the initial launch of the system. So, Robert Walker, my friend, let me take a look. You said, did I get any of that? let me. I see message retracted, message retracted. Message retracted. Okay, so no, anything that you retracted, my friend, I didn't get. That's what retracted means.
Yeah, I don't have a chat up, so I can't see anything.
Yeah, G says that he learned about the paddles the hard way. He says their Super Retron HD is great. G, my friend, we should have a discussion separately from this because I disagree
Uh-oh.
with that assessment. But here's why. My biggest beef was the music is off, and there are upscaling issues that become painfully apparent with the Super Retron on a 4K display. And I brought this up to them, and they were not able to see. They were not able to see it, but and it was really interesting artifacting too. It wasn't. It's clear that it's the console having graphical issues that aren't apparent until you're playing it on a higher than 1080p display. And since all my gaming TVs are 4K TVs now, the Super Retron is basically unusable for me on a 4K TV because the anything in movement blurs, and anything moving against the static background causes distortion of the static background in a trail that follows the object that's moving. If you're eagle-eyed and you sit right up to a 1080p TV, you can see hints of these graphical anomalies existing even on a 1080p display, but on a 480 or I'm sorry, on a 4K display, it's absolutely jarring to the point that the games are just unplayable. So, but if you're on 1080p, you might even think I'm just imagining things. It is a shame about Star Raiders. I didn't know they had that on the 5200. I'm gonna have to go check that out. Oh, that's one last thing since you mentioned 5200. Yes, you can technically plug 7800 games in here. No, they will not play. Does not mean that they're unplayable ever, but they are not playable currently. So, if you want to play your 7800 games, get cracking on getting some of those newer versions of Stella working, and then we got a possibility on our hands. So,
Oh, good. Even more games I can't play on it.
because you skipped that whole generation, right?
I only go back as far as the NES.
All right, folks, in the chat, we're gonna go on to another topic, but in the chat, um, actually, it might be time to wind down the show. Do we have to wind down, or do we got 5-10 minutes left?
Yeah, I can go for a while.
Okay, we'll go maybe 15 more minutes. In the meantime, though, so we're gonna go to another topic, but while we're on that little topic, um, if you had to convince Zach to jump into the world of Atari, the original Atari, and by original we'll say 2600 through 78 and 5200. If you had to make a pitch to him to try these systems out, what games would you pitch to him?
Hey, I'm planning on getting the Atari flashback for PS4. That's gonna be pretty much it.
That's gonna be pretty much it.
Yeah, I already don't have enough space for all the games I have already, and I still got more that I want to get for the systems that I have already.
Well, full disclaimer. It would be totally acceptable. Like Stella emulation would be fine. But there's certainly
Like,
enough. I'm gonna be honest with you, right? I'm a child of the '80s, and I played the hell out of Atari. There are some games that are best left in the '80s. So,
yeah. Meanwhile, I was born in '91.
yeah. So, yeah. Gee, with regards to the Super Retron, I'm not talking about the image being a little soft. The image is a little soft, but I could share with you offline. I'll show you some of the footage that I have. I don't think a cable is going to fix this because literally the Retron 5 with the same game looks fine. The Super Retron, imagine so you're on the world map of Super Mario World, and Mario, because he's moving, is nothing but a blur. It's not that he's moving fast, it's that literally, like, for some reason, his graphics are not updating at the correct frame rate or something. And so he's super blurry, but the rest of the rest of the world map is razor sharp. And now if you go into the game world and you start playing like the platforming level, as long as you stand still, everything's razor sharp. As soon as you move, Mario is razor sharp and the whole world blurs.
So you're getting a bit of an after image.
It's a very weird thing, but it only affects objects in motion. And another weird thing that'll happen is if you take Mario and you run him back and forth, and say you like run him by like trees that are in the background or whatever, for a couple frames after he's run past the tree, the tree will glitch up just a little bit. And then if he runs back the other way, the tree will glitch up again. It's like really, it's very, very weird and it's very jarring. None of my other consoles do this, including my real consoles. My Sega doesn't do it. My Super Nintendo doesn't do it. The Retron 5 running the same Super Nintendo game on the same display at 720p doesn't do it. So I know that it's not the TV upscaling 720p to 4K. Otherwise, I'd expect the same distortion of the Retron 5 to the Super Retron if it was just purely how the image is being output. There's something wrong with how they're rendering the graphics in the Super Retron before they deliver it to the TV. And this is also, when I was doing the HDMI, I was using the same cable across the HDMI-enabled consoles. So only the Super Retron has had this quirkiness. So we'll see. But it's because it's 4K and all this other stuff, it's very difficult to catch like the full magnitude of the graphical issues in a streaming sense. Even at 60 frames a second, if you're only capturing at 1080p, you're not going to necessarily pick up the same glitches that I'm seeing, which is a shame. It shows up a little bit, but it wasn't enough to be like blatantly obvious. They kind of wrote it off as maybe they're looking at encoding errors of the stream, and I'm like, no, that's how it looks to me actually playing it. But so your mileage may vary. I think if you're on a 1080p TV, it'll be just fine. You won't even notice it. If it's on a 4K, may God have mercy on your soul. So Robert, I did get some of your requests. Robert Walker really, really wants to be on the show, and we'll discuss more offline, my friend. It doesn't quite work like that. However, what's awesome is YouTube is a great platform for developing your own content and getting your voice out there. And so, where I think you have really interesting ideas concerning games and games that you're very passionate about, rather than try to take an existing show and make that your show, maybe try taking a look at really build your own show, build your own platform. There's no cost to entry. You can do that for free. You can set up a YouTube channel pretty easy. And you can set up a Twitter feed, which you've already got. So a lot of these tools that you're already familiar with, I say be a master of your own destiny, right? You don't want to be in a situation where it's Wednesday night and you really want to talk about a topic, but you got nobody to talk about it with, right? And so you don't go live and you don't do it. Put yourself in control. Put yourself in the pilot seat. Be captain of your own ship, my friend. And
just don't be a captain of the Discovery.
Yeah, just don't be. I'm not gonna go there. So I did want to give it.
Let me put it this way: I'm not a Trek fan at all, and no. And
so you're not a fan of the new reboot?
No, I actually the one that I've been addicted to is the Orville.
Oh, so I watched a couple episodes of that. That was a little too quirky for me. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not that I didn't enjoy it. It was that I don't know. I'm getting pickier about what I watch now because I'm afraid about things getting canceled, and so I either want to watch it because it hasn't.
It's the only show that I actually watch.
I can definitely see why people like it. I didn't dislike it, but the story was a little too fluff for me to really get into and care about. If that makes sense.
Some of them, I don't know. It's just. Something clicked with that show.
Yeah, to me, it kind of felt like The Office on the Enterprise.
Yeah,
which is I'm not saying that's a bad thing either. I was like, okay, I'll pass on it for now. I'm sure later on, right when they've had a couple seasons under their belt, I'm probably going to binge watch the hell out of it because I guess that was the other thing is
just look up clips of Bortus.
Clips of what?
Bortus. Okay. Just his deadpan delivery is just so good. It's just like one moment where he's in a powdered wig with a pistol going into his simulation. And he's like, "Am I too late?" And then just leaves.
I do want to say hey to Koopa Eliminator, who is hanging out with Robert Walker, and they're both watching the stream. Thank you so much. And I did want to mention, Lizzie's actually been quite busy. She's working on a couple cosplays, that kind of thing. So she's been quite busy with some stuff. So we've all kind of had all of us on the show in different ways have had different things going on. So honestly, I'll be straight with you guys. I don't know if I'll have a show next week. It might be, maybe I'll do a show next week and the week after and the week after and the week after. Maybe it'll be another 2 months before the next show. I honestly don't know. And that has nothing to do with you guys, but everything to do with the fact that I just, me and some of the other co-hosts, we just have some really interesting things going on in our lives. Not more interesting than you folks, but I'm trying to be diplomatic.
Hey, and if you guys ever need a fill-in, I'll be here for you.
I super appreciate that. It's it's not obvious till I take the hat off, maybe, but I'm pushing 40 years old now, and I can't always do the things I was able to do before, in terms of energy and get up and go. But it means the world to me that I could be gone for 2 months, come back, and you folks fill up the chat. It's really great. You guys are, and I'm not saying this just to say it, I'm saying it because it's true. You guys make the show worth doing. You make it interesting. Just look at how much interaction we've had today. And Robert, that's why when I say to you, be captain of your own ship, there's nothing worse than you wanting to do something and you base your motivation on other people's things that they've built to enable you to do stuff. So the best way to enable you to get your voice out there and to say what you want to say and to talk with the people that you want to talk to is to put yourself in a situation where you're in control of all of that. Like if you want to go live, you go live. If you want to have a guest, you invite the guest. If they say yes, bam, you make it happen. And you don't have to
Yeah,
worry about
I'm
someone
actually
else.
working on my channel a little bit. I
Yeah.
just need, yeah, I've got video ideas. I'm just trying to build up a bit of a catalog right now, and it's going to be kind of like sort of a maker video game type of thing.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, no, I mean, like I've built this display for my. Oh god damn it!
Is that
Hang
like an
on.
Elgato? The El Goddammit?
No, AC went on.
Ah, okay.
Not about that.
That's all right.
But I built a display for just like card game play mats. That's the one thing that I've got so far, where I'm just looking for other ideas
All
right
right.
now. I don't have the best tools, but if I can make something, I'm gonna try to film it
That's pretty cool. I like
and
those things where
hopefully get.
people show like how they make stuff, how they do stuff. Because I look at some of the things that people do sometimes, and it's like that's amazing. Like how in the world I just
Yeah,
don't have that skill. I never developed that skill.
like I follow people like I like to make stuff, and one of my favorite channels is actually Peter Brown, does who does a bunch of woodworking stuff. And sometimes you see him with making Jolly Rancher candle holders.
Jolly Rancher candle holders.
Yes,
Jolly Rancher.
it it sounds as messy as it is.
Yeah. G the next level says that his channel's been taking much of his time as well, but it's been a blast. G, I know what you're saying, man. There's nothing on the one hand, there's nothing greater than creating, other than maybe seeing people enjoy what it is that you've created. At the same time, it can be very it can be very taxing sometimes in terms of energy. And so when you find yourself in a situation where life is kind of sapped a certain amount of energy out of you and you need to have a certain level of energy like to get on the show and do your thing, takes a certain level of preparedness and energy. And there's times when I feel like just maybe I don't have that level of preparedness or energy, and so I kind of opt out. And then once you've done it one week, it's easier to do it than not do it the next week, and then not do. It's kind of like going to the gym, right? And then you see some instant results, and you're all like, pumped, right, for lack of a better word. And then once you're like working out and doing all this stuff, but you're not really seeing the gains anymore, maybe they're there, but they're just not obvious. It's easy to be like, 1 week off won't kill me. And then 1 week becomes 2 weeks, becomes 3 weeks. And then next thing you know, you're like, I really need to get back to the gym. That was kind of like what happened with the show. It was kind of, we each kind of went off in our own different directions, kind of working on different things, had different things kind of come up in our life that needed to address. In some ways, without getting too much into it, in some ways, this has been the greatest year of my life. And in other ways, it's been the worst year of my life. So I've had both amazingly awesome things happen. Those of you following me on Twitter saw I went to the Grand Canyon. I rafted from one end to the other, and it was epic and amazing. Going through all the rapids and everything. And I was with my dad, which we hadn't really, historically, we haven't spent a lot of time together. So this was a nice, special father-son moment for both of us to have. So that's been great. I've also had to say, final farewells to some of my loved ones this year as well. So in that way, it's been pretty devastating, and I've been trying to deal with that loss in my own way. And so I've had good and bad, going on, but definitely missed you folks, missed the chat, missed kind of keeping you guys up to date. Last little bits, I guess. If you haven't received it yet, it's probably on the way. Super Mario. Saturday morning RPG, right? For the Nintendo Switch from Limited Run. They have been getting shipped out. So if you haven't gotten yours
Yeah,
yet, keep your eyes open. It's probably on the way.
yeah. I just received mine like 2 weeks ago.
Nice. Nice. So they're
Yeah.
making the rounds. Also, Shadow of the
Yeah.
Tomb Raider releases this Friday. So, um, if you wanted to pre-order and you missed your opportunity, like if you wanted the Super Collector's Edition, which has this ridiculously good quality statue of Laura, they did sell out everywhere. But if you go to the Square Enix store, there's a second batch that's dropping in October. So if you can live with not having the game immediately and you can wait another month, you can now pre-order for the second batch that'll be available in October. So if you really wanted to have that Laura Croft swag like I did, and you can wait an extra month, which I can, that's your deal. Also, not shilling for Microsoft, but just telling you the truth. The game is going to be definitive on Xbox One X. It's going to be faster frame rates, and it's going to be higher resolution in terms of the resolution that's sustained. It'll look amazing on both PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, but the definitive experience is going to be on the One X. Just so you know. So if you got the choice between one or the other, and you're normally a buy on PlayStation, you might want to let that, maybe that sways your decision. I don't know.
Meanwhile, I'm still using base consoles.
Nothing wrong with that. I gotta hand it to them. I was
Yeah.
concerned.
I do want to at least pick up an S at one point.
Were you still like chatting on the show and stuff when we were talking about like before the One X and before the Pro actually came out and we were all sharing our concerns? Were you part of that discussion?
I don't know. I don't think so, because at the time you guys were probably doing it so late, I was already in bed.
Gotcha. So I gotta say, like, originally I was very
Which,
concerned.
so people know I'm on the East Coast, and you're on the
Yeah.
West Coast. So
Yeah. So I think I was concerned that the One X and the Pro was going to mean that we're all going to have crappy experiences on the simpler, on the original launch model consoles. Um, Honestly, I don't
yeah,
play on those launch model consoles anymore. So I don't know if that's come to fruition. Maybe you folks, if you've got any experience still gaming. But when I hear you saying like you're having a good time with Spider-Man and that kind of
yeah. I
stuff,
mean, like
it
I said, I
sounds
was just playing Spider-Man over the weekend, and it still plays good.
that's good.
It still looks good,
Yeah. So I got to hand it to the
and I've been
developers. It
addicted
sounds
to the
like they
Yakuza
figured it
games.
out. Yeah. Sounds like they figured it out how to make a good experience on both platforms, which is kind of it's what we all wanted, but it's what we were afraid maybe they wouldn't make the investment in doing. And so it's good to hear that they're taking care of
Yeah,
both the ends there. I don't think there's a bad way to play Spider-Man. Um, so
yeah. Though pretty much most of my gaming is actually on the Switch nowadays.
So, yeah, Robert, the copyright stuff, that's definitely a challenge. I agree with you. It's a challenge. Most folks know I don't stream Nintendo games anymore. It's not because I don't like Nintendo. I still love Nintendo games. I don't love what Nintendo as a company has become and how they treat their audience. So I still enjoy their games. I just don't enjoy them pissing in my face while I play their games. So, which
Yeah.
is what it sometimes feels like is happening when they say, don't stream this, or hey, you can stream it. And then they turn around and give you 3 strikes with Google because you streamed a game that you already had a legal agreement with them that you could stream. So sometimes the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing at that company anymore. And it's a shame. It's a shame
I
because I remember a company that I always remember getting the Nintendo Powers and wanting to read, right, like what happened. Like you read about the Game Boy that survived a fire, right? The Game Boy's all trashed and everything, but you can still see, still powers on. You can still see Tetris. And Nintendo was so touched by what happened that even though it was out of warranty, clearly warranty doesn't cover it's been in a fire, but they send the person a brand new Game Boy anyway. That's the Nintendo I remember as a kid. That's the Nintendo I want back, not this Nintendo that's trying to like cash grab me every single time, that's under providing in their inventory, that's trying to make all these crazy rules and stuff for what we can and can't do to try to help them promote their product and their console. But that's just me. That's my opinion.
All
And like I said, I'm getting kind of old. So
right. What do you say we do a little pickups and call it a night?
absolutely. I already showed one of my pickups, Super Mario or I did it again. I did it again. Saturday morning. RPG was one of the pickups. Another pickup was I got an X Arcade on
I
Craigslist.
I'm jealous of that. I saw you post that the other day.
This thing is like badass, and it came with all these different. It's got the USB connector. It's got the PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 connector. It even has like Wii and Wii U connectors.
Huh.
So I could play some of the SNK games from the SNK Classics collection with the controls and everything. So it's pretty sweet. Those are I also picked up an arcade machine, Area 51 Site 4. I think I posted some pictures of that. It's a gun game. It's a sequel to the original Area 51. So I'm getting fewer pickups now, but the pickups I'm getting are more ridiculous, I guess, in nature.
I mean, like I've said before, I was pretty much like getting all the Yakuza games. I've The big one that I got was the collector's edition of 6, which comes with 2 whiskey glasses.
Oh wow!
So yeah, and they're
like shot glasses or
no, like drinking whiskey glasses, not shot glasses.
how much whiskey can you fit in those things?
I don't know.
You'll have
I
to you'll have to do some
I normally
research and
fill
get back to us on that.
I normally just fill it up to the stones.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't even
That's-
know that they had an edition with whiskey. Are they like actual? Are they actually made of glass, or are they like plastic?
yeah,
Oh
actual
wow,
glass. Came
wow,
with actual whiskey stones and also an art book that features a lot of fan art.
that's really cool.
Yeah, it's a very nice edition of a game.
Yeah. I
But yeah, I
think
mean, other stuff I've
yeah.
gotten Skate 3 on the Xbox,
Okay.
and where I got the one of the newer ones of the greatest hits that
Yeah.
they're in the Xbox One cases instead of the 360 cases.
Nice.
Yeah, it actually doesn't look that bad at all for greatest hits.
That's pretty good. That's
Yeah,
pretty good. So
and like I said, Sega Genesis classics earlier.
nice.
One that I picked up like last year, but I want to talk about Berserk Band of the Hawk, which
Ooh.
if you like the Warrior style games, I highly suggest that as a fan of the Berserk manga and anime. Not the newer one, the older one.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, it's a Warrior style game, so you're gonna have fun with that if you like those games. I also picked up recently Tiny Toon Adventure, Buster's Hidden Treasure on the Genesis.
Nice.
Yeah, I have yet to play it, but finally got one of the Tiny Toon games again. And last big pickup I want to talk about is that I found the Xbox 360 version of Tony Hawk's American Wasteland.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah, that one's like still around like $25.
I'm surprised Jeremy is not at your house right now. So he's a
Yeah,
huge Tony Hawk fan.
yeah, no, I definitely was, and where that was like the last good, really good one, I think personally. The ones after that were all right to terrible.
Oh wow. Well,
Yeah,
it's always hard with sequels, right? Because sometimes you get the team that doesn't want to like work on the same game endlessly, so at some point they have to switch the team, and then you get these folks that come in that aren't really familiar with the engine or the genre or whatever, and sometimes they want to change things, or sometimes they just don't know how to maintain what's there, and so
yeah,
it's always hard to keep a franchise alive sometimes over the long haul, right?
yeah. Just any advice I give: avoid Pro Skater 5.
No Pro Skater 5, according to
Yeah,
Zach.
it
It's off the limits.
ugh, it was
So
so terrible.
yeah, G to
It,
the Next Level agrees with you though that Tiny Toons on Genesis was great. He says that that was a good game. So
you
good
know,
pickup there.
I've been wanting to collect all the Tiny Toon games on like the Genesis, Super Nintendo, and NES. So far,
Yeah,
I've only got that one I just mentioned and Tiny Toon Adventures on the NES. So I
I'd
still have quite a ways to go.
those are good starts though. Those are good
Yeah,
starts. The G says he hasn't had many pickups lately either. Just calls from pre-orders and Kickstarters. Been saving for Retropalooza and Sonic and Sega Fan Jam. So I'm with you, G. Like I've most of my pickups are
yeah,
things that are like locked in pre-order land. I like G. I pre-ordered Night Trap, um, the
yeah. I'm
for
waiting
the
on that
Nintendo
one.
Switch.
I
Oh, you
unfortunately
got it
couldn't
for
get
Switch?
Oceanhorn.
Yeah, Oceanhorn was ridiculously difficult to get.
You know, un, unfortunately at the time that it was out, I really didn't have any extra spending money.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I know for a fact there's stuff I've ordered from like when I'm gonna try when Saturday Morning RPG. I got it. I got it the
Yeah.
first time. When
Oh my
Saturday
god,
Morning
that game.
RPG
Ugh.
arrived in the mail, I was like, "Oh, I forgot I even got this." Because I already have this on Steam. I have this on iOS. I have this on PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
I just
You
and I don't
know,
mind paying for this game multiple times because I so badly want to see a sequel to this game.
yeah, no, I originally got it back on the Vita, and I'll be honest, I never even played that copy. It
Yeah.
because part of me wanted the PS4 version,
Yeah.
but but back then
Did you
they
eventually
ran
play
out.
it?
I started playing it on the Switch. I haven't gotten too far into
Yeah.
it.
What have you thought of it so far?
The turn-based RPG games kind of like hit or miss with me,
Yeah.
so I haven't really got like that click for it yet.
Gotcha. Well, folks, though, if you do like turn-based RPGs, especially with a twist, it's kind of turn-based RPG, but it is kind of like, and Robert, I think that you're right. I think the reason that I keep calling it Saturday Morning RPG is because of SMRPG. It's in my head that SM must be Super Mario. But
Yeah, and you just said Saturday Morning RPG when you were trying to say Super Mario there.
I might have. Saturday Morning RPG is very much like Super Mario RPG in its battle system. It's turn-based, but then there's also like specific moments where you can like hit a button or do something, which depending on the attack that you're getting or receiving, can help determine whether or not you give more damage or get more damage or things like that. So it's not just like pick a thing and then wait and let it play out. It's like pick a thing and then be ready to like hit a button or
Yeah.
do a counter at a specific moment and stuff. So
Hmm. Yeah,
this
but
is
just to give people an idea
originally
of how finicky I can be with the turn-based RPGs, my favorite Final Fantasy game is Bravely Default.
hey, Bravely Default is I think the best thing that they could have done for turn-based RPGs is add a fast forward button.
Yes.
Like honestly, I have to 100% agree with you there. Like it because once you have it, like you don't realize how bad it is and how slow the game is artificially until you can fast forward the fights. And it doesn't make them any easier
It,
necessarily. In some cases, it actually makes them harder, but it's worth it for the extra time I think that you get back.
yeah, anyone who's used an emulator knows that.
Yeah. So love Bravely Default and Bravely Second. Hoping that we
Yeah.
see a Switch equivalent of one of those. Octopath
Well,
Traveler for right now is by the same team. So
yeah, and where you saw that image that they posted, right?
no, what are you talking about?
Where it was like one of the thank you for buying Bravely Default or for Octopath Traveler, and where it had an image where Shadow was the fairy from Bravely Default.
Ooh.
So possibly hinting.
I'm hoping so. And folks, we're gonna leave you on that cliffhanger. So I want to thank everybody in the chat. G to the next level. I appreciate you taking a break from your own channel and your own content to come check out ours and give a listen. I'd be interested in doing follow up with you in terms of I'm really curious to see what your thoughts are on the Retron 77. So I'm looking forward to checking out that video from you guys, folks. If you haven't checked out G to the next level, you absolutely should. He's got some great content. He's a really cool guy. He's been on the show a couple times. Um, so keep on making great content and we'll keep on listening and watching. Robert Walker, I highly encourage you, my friend, take your passion, take your energies, forge your destiny. There's plenty of room. I know that on some of the Twitterverse, Robert doesn't do this. Robert is really cool, but some folks on the Twitter universe have it in their head that like there can't be other people. There can be only one. That is not true. There's plenty of room on the internets for those of us that want to talk about our gaming, talk about our passions, talk about our geekdom. It's all good. It's all good. So, other folks, um, I apologize. We didn't get to talk about the Poly Mega, RGS or RSG rather, and Phaser Co. I guess I will give you this little bit about the Poly Mega. Like the Retron 5, it can emulate multiple different consoles. unlike the Retron 5, more like the Retro Freak, it takes different modules to support the different consoles. So out of box, it has a CD module, and it can read a whole bunch of different, like PlayStation, Saturn, different consoles. That's kind of cool. It clearly is doing all this through emulation, though, not through hardware. So I think compatibility is going to be really hit or miss. I haven't seen them release a compatibility list. I'm kind of getting tired of companies kicking stuff out and leaving it to us to figure out what it does or doesn't work with. That was fun for a while, but it becomes less fun over time when you've got like a dozen different consoles trying to remember, oh, game works here, doesn't work here, works here, doesn't work here. So that's a little bit, I guess, frustrating. The other thing that makes me a little bit nervous is that they haven't really committed to what packs are going to be coming out and when. So you can pre-order it, I guess, hoping that it runs things at full speed, hoping that the emulation is good enough. But I don't know. I'm reserving full final judgment until there's actually hardware for us to play with. But initially, I would have the same, I guess, reservations that I would have about the Retron 5 itself, right? Until it's actually there in your hands and you can check it out. So might be super cool, but we don't really know much about its build quality and all that stuff just yet. We'll have to see when we get it in our hands. So if you're going to proceed with caution is my advice there. All right.
All right.
Anything you want to add, or are we good to go for tonight?
We're good to go. I'm just gonna say, if you want to follow me, best way to follow me is on Twitter, I guess, and it's at ZachZ57 with an underscore between the K and the Z. And for the most part, I just share shit posts. So you might be able to get some laughter out of me. I don't know.
All right. Well, folks, we appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. We hope that you learned some things and enjoyed the conversation. Always enjoy your conversation in the chat. So thanks once again. Maybe we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Oh, and thanks for having me on this week.
Hey, not a problem, my friend. You have an open invite. So
yeah, like I said, you ever need somebody, just send me a message.
Absolutely. And congrats on getting your own place. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a nightmare getting it taken care of, though.
Worth it. Worth it.
I'll send you some pictures to show you later what I had to deal with.
These must be the aforementioned shit posts.
No, I meant actually take.
I was trying to make it funny, but it didn't work.
I like actually taking care of stuff that was here.
Well,
this person never cleaned.
Oh, that I agree with you. That's not fun. That's not fun. Folks, take care. Don't be a person that doesn't clean.